Good afternoon, fellas. Welcome to Tales of the Game, podcast number 12. Some stray thoughts on the modern church here. I got into a bit of a Twitter row here earlier today, and I just wanted to quickly jot down a couple thoughts on this. But I do have a feeling that this topic is going to get returned to probably on an episode of Man's Hour, because I think there's a lot here, and there's probably not enough that I will be able to go over just myself here. And I think maybe we'll do one in the future here. But hold on here, just checking something out in the other tab. All right, there we go. Right. All right, so another stream today. Boy, it's going to be 4 by the time the day is done. So don't nobody tell you I don't work hard. So basically, what prompted this thought process here, which if you guys follow me on Twitter, maybe you saw this going around, but let me add this here. There we go. So Nico, you'll see him in the chat a bunch. He's usually in the live chat pretty frequently around here. Tagged me and a couple other guys on Twitter. Tagged him, Real Fem Sapien, oddly enough, on this one. But and then Roman chimed in. But yeah, Glenn Lawrence, kind of a Christian RP guy, obviously myself, and then I'm a good friend Governor Megatron, another Christian guy in these circles here. But he just asked the question, when was the last time you heard a pastor strongly condemn gluttony or make an effort to reduce it in his church? It's one of the most obvious sins. It's hard to not notice when someone is obese/fat. Yep, that's entirely true. And basically, I mean, I didn't really have too much to add on this topic here, but I ended up coming in because Roman Riva, good friend of the channel here, was chiming in. So I decided to, have my 2 cents on that one as well. And this regenerate man character comes in here to tell us all what's up about the triad composition in the church and everything like this. And we'll get into the main reasons as to why I want to address this topic here in a minute here. But Roman naturally takes the correct position here and says I'll obviously take lust over gluttony, which is obviously true. Nobody wants to be walking around looking at fat ugly people all the time, and quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, if more people are having healthy relationships and healthy sex lives, the world would be a better place. I take the med gold position on this one, by the way. So basically our regenerate man here went on to play devil's advocate here, which is fine. He's entitled to do that. Sexual sins are among God's absolute most hated. They destroy people and families and eventually civilization. Okay, so does fatness, but whatever. Gluttony is rarely as big a problem because rare are the times when widespread gluttony is even possible. Well, again, we're talking about the modern time here, but basically, I don't want to go too much into this Twitter thread here because it's not really what's important here. What's important is the ideas that I'm going to put forward on this one. But essentially we get into a back and forth here where I jive back and say wives getting fat has killed more marriages than fornication ever will. And I firmly believe this. I think obesity has caused way more. And I actually was talking about this with Mr. Patriarch in his channel last weekend. I think I went on there real quick and we were discussing the prawn issue and all that stuff. So you can go over there and see my thoughts on that one. But it's, similar points here. It's just, they really just got to, harp on the men no matter what it is in the church these days, right? Can't be literally anything else. And we'll get into that in a minute here. But him talking about this is unbiblical. And again, it's well, which case do we want to use from the Bible here? Is this where Solomon had thousands of concubines? Abraham had multiple wives? Proverbs 21:9, which you guys would be familiar with. It's the quarrelsome wife line, which you guys would probably be familiar with. 1 Corinthians 7:5 is talking about how wives withholding sex from the husbands is a big no-no. Martin Luther himself also went off and set this on record that saying if the wife holds out on sex, the husband can publicly shame her and then go and sleep with the maid is totally justified. So that was the Martin Luther position on this one. So I mean, I don't know if Turnip ever watches this, if Ryan Turnip ever watches this, the Lutheranism it's pretty based, a little bit of a stamp of approval, at least on that one. That take from Luther, he's pretty much on the point on that one there. And basically, what I'm laying out here is it's okay, well, what standard are you going to hold this to? If you're talking about this is unbiblical kind of deal, there's multiple ones. The churches have multiple meanings of this throughout history, not just in the Bible, but also just in the actual, runnings and everyday managing of the church and such. And basically, my point here is that the church can't even make up its mind weekly, and you want me to listen to longhouse drivel they're spewing out these days. I don't buy it for 1 second, not to mention the inbuilt hypocrisy for centuries of letting upper class men have courtesans. I'll stick to the real. So basically, my point here is like, okay, in the broader context of what we like to talk about on this channel a bunch is like relationships and the modern dating marketplace and RP stuff, and as well as politics, everything involved with that. Why would like a guy these days, it's just a circle that's never been squared for me. It just doesn't make sense. And it's like, oh, okay. And I think Clint Eastwood portrayed this wonderfully well in his movie Gran Torino. If you guys have ever seen that movie, where he has the extremely young pastor guy who's in his young 20s that's walking around telling everybody how to behave, and he's talking to like Clint Eastwood, the old like grizzled Korean War veteran who has killed dozens of guys, and this priest who's in his young 20s who's a virgin is going to tell him like what he should or shouldn't be doing with his life, and about about the experiences of masculinity and men and life and death and sex and all these things, and it just doesn't hold water to me. I mean, like, I'm sure many people will have plenty of gripes with me in the comment section about that, but well, I guess I mean, we don't really read. Let me finish up this thread here, and then I can get to the actual monologue here, and we can be done with it here. So hold on here. There is one more. Yeah, let me hold on. Let me remove this really quick, because there is a quote tweet on top of here that I wanted to get to, like the main actual thread of the issue that I had here. Okay, here we go. Let me pull that back up. Boom, there we go. So this guy didn't address any of the arguments I was saying about, like, what the hypocrisy of the church in times previously. They were pretty fast and loose with a lot of these rules because it's just not how human beings are meant to behave. So there's plenty of issues with that one. But here's basically my argument. It's like, and as the guy's not addressing the points, he's just arguing at me like I'm a Reddit tier atheist or something like this. It's just like, YOLO, man. But I'm just not happy, man. And it's like, dude, I can't stand getting into this is why I really don't do this that much, but I felt like I wanted to get my ideas out there on this one just to set the record straight. But this is why I really don't like having a lot of these religious arguments with other right-wingers. Number one, they always argue at you like you're some kind of Reddit tier atheist. And it's like, no, it's not my position, sir. I probably have spent more time in church in my life than you have in your life, Mr. 18-year-old recent convert to Christianity. I probably read more passages of the Bible than you have. I probably spent more time in Sunday school, spent more time in church communities amongst other church-going people. So I don't want to hear any of this bullshit. All right. How about you actually meet the arguments in face value? Because ideally, like myself and other people like me who are in my position are generally like the kinds of people that would be like natural allies to you, so to speak. Like we're already basically like 90% of the way there. You just got to meet us the other 10% of the way. But no, they can never do that. It's always met with like shaming tactics and such. And this is basically my biggest issue here and why I wanted to actually talk about this topic. So this is my biggest issue with religious men on the right. Scratch the surface a tiny bit and you immediately get shaming language and feminine behavior. There are many men on the right, like myself, who are disillusioned with the church but are not atheists. I grew up in the church. I saw its failures firsthand at every single level. Instead of addressing the legitimate criticisms of the modern church, we are met with nothing but sinner, fornicator, no good, very evil, bad man. Yeah, okay, that's great. I'm a sinner. We get it. Move on. It's such a poor way of convincing people of your positions. How about an addressing of the issues and meeting them head on instead of yelling at everyone who has left or been pushed away by the church? People like myself are real. We have real concerns. Address it as such. And this basically is like the main point I wanted to get at here. And then there was one last thing I wanted to mention on here. And I believe it is yeah, here we go. This jackass here came running in. Okay, let me add that back on there. Yeah, so this jackass here, another one of these online Christian guys here, came running in to defend his friend apparently. He's talking about shame here. Doing so in the proper manner and on the proper subjects is not feminine. I vehemently disagree with this. Shaming is for women and children. Shaming is not for adults. It's not for grown ass men. There's far too much of it on the online right. This is a drum I've been beating for quite some time at this point, and I cannot stand this kind of behavior from people. And I actually make this point here with these quotes here. I really can't think of anything more feminine than dragging another man in front of a mob for 15 minutes of hate, plus a future of thousands of little jabs and snickers. Not only will it not work on a guy with any balls, but if you want justice, then do it quick and clean like a man. And this is my biggest issue with this stuff is so much of I can remove this. I don't need this up here anymore. All right. So the biggest issue I have here with these characters and such is there really just isn't a lot of good faith, back and forth between these discussions and these arguments here, and like there's mischaracterizations of positions and everything like this. And it's like, listen here, like I've talked about on the show before. I was raised Catholic plus also Eastern Orthodox, so I got a double dosage of it. Spent my entire life going to religious schools, growing up in mass, growing up in a church community and everything. And I saw failures on every single level of that church as it relates to the priests not being involved in their community, not guiding people in the correct way, except to harass and harangue men and, just constantly blame them for everything, which, no secret there. The constant, lifting up of women, the total degradation of male and boy spaces within the church. Also just like the ridiculous virtue signaling that was going on with there as well. Like most people were just there for church on Sundays, but they did absolutely nothing in their real lives that was anything remotely close to Christ or any church related issues like whatsoever. So they were literally just there for a show. You had many of these cases where you'd have like the reformed, women come into the church kind of deal, and they would, of course, be welcomed back with open arms and yada, 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 all these things. People getting divorced left and right, and churches handing out annulments for people and making excuses and all this stuff. And on top of that as well, just feeling myself particularly, and I'm sure there are many guys in the chat and are, definitely around the space in the internet that have this similar experience where just completely set us back decades as it relates to the relationships between men and women. Just absolutely the worst kinds of advice you could ever hear in your entire life. Oh, you just got to be a stand-up guy and a stand-up man, and a woman knows when a good provider comes along and she's gonna lock you right up, and women are all about marriage and all that fun stuff. It's like, shut up. You guys don't know what you're talking about. You're setting people up for failure. You're not addressing any of the legitimate issues that are going on in your church. When we talk about the longhouse, this is the things that we're talking about here. And on the topic of shaming in general here, and why it's not effective for people to be using this, and they shouldn't be using this definitely in online right-wing circles, is number one, you random little internet anon with a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 followers or something. Like, what gives you the right by any manner of imagination to dictate to me or any other man for that matter what they should or shouldn't be doing with their lives? This isn't like a stupid shit lib argument here about my freedom or something like that. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that for you as a guy, for me to take your advice with any degree of seriousness, you need to earn my respect. You need to earn a right to have a say as to what's going on with me in my life. I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know who you are trying to come into my house, tell me what's up, what I should or shouldn't be doing, when you are not going to face any of the consequences of your shitty advice if I was to go and enact it. Diogenes Laertius said the easiest thing in the world is to give advice. And why is it the easiest thing in the world to give advice? Because the person giving the advice is not going to face the consequences of that advice, should it be terrible advice. And this is why I have a huge issue with a bunch of these guys just walking in here and saying, oh no, you got to do this with your relationship because, this is what the good book says. Like, okay, well, which good book are we going to use? Because according to certain good books, they say different things about other ones. I don't need to get into the ridiculous, theological debates here as to, which Bible is the true one and, apocryphal gospels and all these kinds of things. I don't need to get into that argument. But And then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, which denomination? Because that has changed like 47 times as well. And basically what I'm getting at here is there's kind of like the argument of, okay, well, you should be religious because we are beings made in the image of God, and you should have a relationship with the supreme divine, being of the universe. It's like, okay, yep, I can get behind that. I tend to agree. I definitely believe in some kind of divine figure or force in the world. I think it's absolutely obvious that one exists. I think it's also very important for society to have some degree of attachments to a religion, a faith that holds everybody together and holds a community together and gives, people a set of morals to live by. Yep, totally agree. And then you get to the part two where it's like, and then therefore you need to listen to absolutely everything that comes out of your pastor's mouth and what your church tells you. It's like, okay, well, the church is a political institution, and it always has been, and it always will be. And why is it a political institution? Because it's run by men. And I'm not saying men as in the sex of men. I'm saying man as in like man the animal. So the church is run by men, and it's always going to be a political institution with agendas to address. In ancient times, they were more directly related to things like statecraft and such. They were more directly related to the higher rungs of power, where of course they made exceptions for leaders of men, so to speak, high class men, upper class men. To have exceptions. I was talking about the courtesans last week. That was an exception the Catholic Church made in the very beginning. And the other issue I see here, Evola talks about the two paths for man. The right hand path, which is the asceticism path, where man supplements himself to an idea in order to reach transcendence, and the left hand path, which is the path of the warrior, which early Christianity, like the Ghibellines, also in the early years of the faith, the Crusades, as well. Christianity was very solar, very masculine, very left-hand path oriented. And it seems like the church now, the whole goal of it now is just to completely reject the left-hand path in all ways, in shape or form, and just fully supplement itself basically to the longhouse as far as I see it. So no, I'm not going to be, signing up for your like subverted longhouse church. I'm not going to do it. Sorry. If it makes me a bad man, makes me a bad sinner, then fine. It probably does. I'm a bad guy. What do you guys want me to say? Everyone's living in this fallen world here. I just can't get over that. Like, I don't know, that mental block. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why? Like, am I living in my priest's frame, or am I living in my own frame? And yeah, this is definitely going to be a conversation we have to flesh out more with somebody else. Maybe we'll do a man's hour on this next week. But I just wanted to get like a couple brief ideas out there, mostly about like, I've got issues with the modern church. I do not have an issue with God/Christ, but I don't know, man. It's something that I think we all struggle with to an extent, like how to navigate through the world these days. With the church the way that it is. But I'm certainly not going to be signing up for, the drivel that's coming out of like somebody like Pope Francis's mouth, or anything like this. I think it's clear that he's not in the interests of the Catholic faith or the Catholic Church or the West or the Christians inhabiting it. I think that's abundantly clear. So no, I'm not going to be bound, to this guy, just because, it just doesn't make sense to me. The guy's vehemently against my interests. So why am I going to have to be attached to it? It's just not something I'm okay with. And, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here. I don't really have too much more to say than, that I'm definitely going to have another discussion on this one. I don't know. Maybe I just delete this video and, just do that one. I'm not sure. But anywho, I just wanted to get a couple ideas out there. I guess the crescendo I wanted to say here is just like, yes, the shaming tactic that people decide to do amongst men is ridiculous. It's something that women do. Women are always the ones that are the shamers because ostracization from the group is a death sentence to females in our ancestral past. And this is something that they have, held on as an evolutionary holdover to modern times. Men, we simply do not act this way. Any justice that is done between men within the group is done swiftly, cleanly, and they just get it over with. It's like, okay, you fucked up within the group. Okay, here's your punishment, or you're exiled from the group. That's it. Or if you really, really fucked up, we'll just execute you. We'll get rid of you. But like men, like it's just very unbecoming to like hold grudges for such a long time. And be like holding people in front of like whole groups of people and like shaming them in front of each other. It's something like a gamma male would do. It's not something like an actual guy, who knows how to have interactions with other men. It's just not how you behave. It's like pull a guy like to his side and be like, hey, don't be doing that stuff. You even see this too with like the way that guys parent compared to how women parent their kids. It's like punishment from the dad is like swift and it's swift, it's just, and it's also like it's almost like there's an actual rule behind it. It's like it's not random, it's fair in that sense. Like there's actual rules that you have that are set up for you by like your father. It's like, okay, you break these, you get punished. Oh, you can bend these a little bit or something like this. But like the rules of women, they're kind of like always ever changing. You see this with the way that like mothers parent their kids as well. And then like when you don't get the desired outcome, knock on the door and do you want me to go get dad? It's like, yeah, because what's up when dad comes walking into the room. But yeah, I'm definitely going to end up doing a stream on this because this deserves more of a deep dive. But all right, guys, I just want to get a couple ideas out there on this one. This is kind of a rambling one that I'm not very impressed with, but I'm just a little scatterbrained here. Maybe I'll leave this up, maybe I don't. But come back in a half hour here. Mr. D is coming on to join us for Man's Hour. We're gonna have a fun discussion there. So be sure to stop by for that one. And then later tonight we've got the Old Glory Club Pony Express Radio stream, so go check that out as well. But see you guys later.